Welcome to this week's edition of the Bulldog Blitz. I'm Colin Likas. The wintry weather at Butler hasn't stopped the baseball team from opening regular season play. The Bulldogs traveled to Georgia State over the weekend for a 3-game series, and I'm joined now by head coach Steve Farley and senior second baseman Lucas Calderon. Thanks for joining me today, guys.
Thank you.
Coach Farley, your team took the third game of that 3-game series against Georgia State over the weekend, 10-8. You got contributions from all throughout your lineup offensively. Can you give us a little assessment of how you feel your team played in that final game?
Oh, we scored a lot of runs all weekend. The hitters did a good job. Guys like Lucas and some of the older seniors did a great job swinging the bats. We had a lot of line drives, had a couple of big home runs. So scoring 10 runs in that last game was a big deal. Our pitchers kind of struggled a bit. So scoring runs was kind of the big positive for the weekend.
Sure. Now, Lucas, you collected 2 hits and 2 RBI in that final game of the series. Talk about how the team was able to rebound from the 2 losses earlier in the weekend and come back and grab the win.
Well, I think from day one of the fall, Coach Farley has instilled in us of bringing like a mindset to every single game and knowing that there's going to be struggles and ups and downs throughout the whole season, but to be able to refocus every inning, every pitch. So he pretty much told us in the 3rd day of the dugout, he's like, listen, guys, the law of averages are on our side. There's going to be a 3-game series. Every single college baseball team is going to win a certain amount of games, is going to lose a certain amount of games, and there's those middle games that's like the 3rd game of the series, which is really going to determine if you can start rolling it. And again, it's the first couple of games of the season, and just getting out there outside for the first time was pretty nice for us to get a good feel of the team that we have.
Sure. And you've started off pretty strong at the plate this season. You have 5 hits already in 10 appearances, a home run. You've scored 3 times. How have you been able personally to get off to such a strong start offensively?
I think a lot of credit has to be given to our coaching staff. Coach Hiscox has worked a lot with us with the hitters. I personally was out for the fall with a broken hamate bone in my hand, so Coach Hiscox was really working with me with the mentality and the proper approach to go about going up to the plate. So really, Coach Farley did a great job of preparing us for the season, and right now it's just the mental, like being focused every pitch, every at bat, and that's what I give credit to.
Sure. Now, Coach, in the first 2 games of that series, obviously the results didn't go as you would probably have hoped. Georgia State racked up 29 runs against you guys in those 2 games. So can you talk a little bit about what the pitching or the defense maybe needs to do to improve going down the stretch?
I thought the defense did a pretty good job. I don't think we really made too many bad plays. Our defense was pretty solid. The pitchers, we just walked too many guys. I make the excuse for our team. I think those first couple of games, and we're barely outside. We've been outside for 2 practices, and we're playing teams from down south that are on their field a lot. So the pitchers were nervous. We got some good pitchers on the staff, but that first couple of games we just didn't throw strikes, and that's the other team got a lot of free runs on walks and hit batters and things like that. So I think we'll show a lot better this weekend, a lot more strikes, and hopefully the runs will go down for the other team.
Sure. And sticking with the pitching, you graduated 8 seniors from last year's team. 3 of them were starting pitchers last year: Mike Hernandez, Dom Silvestri, and Brad Schnitzer. How have you worked to replace those guys on the staff, and has it at all changed the way that you've used the pitching staff in the early going?
Well, there's some big shoes to fill. We lost some good seniors, but we feel like we got some good older guys coming back. Our starting rotation this weekend, and same as last weekend, was a left-handed sophomore, Eric Stout, who's coming off a great summer in the Valley League out in Virginia. Had a real good summer. Kevin Lankman is a big, tall left-handed pitcher, a senior, a junior college transfer who throwing the ball 90 miles an hour plus. And then Kyle Cramp was a guy that started off at Butler as a draft pick, got picked out of high school by the San Francisco Giants, and was injured his first year, broke his wrist on a ball in a game down in Florida, but has been really strong. And he was sick this weekend, had the flu, only got to pitch a couple innings. That kind of pushed us back a little bit, but he'll start one of the games down at Appalachian State this weekend.
Right. And Lucas, sticking with the graduated seniors, only 2 members of the field graduated last year, Griffin Richardson and Mike Hoshite. So how has kind of keeping most of the same team from last season helped you guys bond and prepare for this season?
Well, it's helped us a lot. I mean, those 2 guys that you mentioned are big shoes to fill, but we came in and the junior class graduated, and now we're seniors, and we all came in like this is our last shot. There's a big group of upperclassmen, and we've really taken the team, control of the team, this is how you prepare yourself, this is how you go about working in the weight room, in the classroom, on and off the field, representing the Butler baseball program. So we feel like we've been there before, because we kind of have, and going into a new conference is just exciting.
Sure. Now, you guys start with 10 games on the road this season, mostly due to weather conditions up here. Your first home game's March 8th against IPFW. So how do you guys prepare to constantly be going on the road each week or during a given week? And how do you prepare to play in front of opposing crowds each week for the early going?
Well, that goes in. We get a scouting report every week with our coaches that they help prepare ourselves to go for the next team that we're going to play against. And also from day one, Farley says take road trips as a business trip. Go in there with a mindset, understand what you have to do, obviously have fun and enjoy the experience of going to traveling to new cities and different atmospheres, like you say, with different crowds. But go with a purpose and a goal in mind and try to achieve it.
Mm-hmm. And sticking on that topic, Coach, how do you prepare your team for those long road trips, and what kind of mentality do you try to instill in them to keep them focused and motivated when they're on the road for a long time?
Well, not much you can prepare for. It's just a grind. When you're a northern baseball team, when you're in Indiana or Ohio or Wisconsin or Illinois, that's kind of our normal thing. Like you said, I think our first 23 out of our first 27 games are on the road. That doesn't happen many times in sports. But for us, we know we're going to get on a bus and take a long trip. It's almost kind of a team bonding thing. The chemistry is good. Guys get to spend a lot of time. It's kind of like being a minor league baseball player. You're going to get on the road and go somewhere, probably kind of some hostile fans, but again, we're used to that. We don't play a lot of home games early just because of the weather. Anxious to get back here and have the Butler crowd come out and watch us play. But these guys are used to it. I don't know how a guy like Lucas from Miami comes all the way up to Indiana. I'd rather be down in South Florida right now playing than Indianapolis. But it's what we do. It's what we're used to. The guys do a good job. We practice indoors. Cold weather's not a big shock for us. I think it's almost an advantage. We've really worked hard on the drills and the basic fundamentals, and our guys are just anxious and excited to get outside when we can finally open up the season.
Sure. Now, switching gears a little bit, you're at your 22nd year at the helm of the Bulldogs. How has baseball, college baseball, not only at Butler but also across the nation, changed since you started out here in Indianapolis?
Well, I think there's more parity. You look at teams now. Last year was a big year in the College World Series. A couple of northern teams, Stony Brook from New York. Who was the other team? Kent State from Ohio. College World Series typically is dominated by southern teams from Texas and California, Florida, Arizona. And now you're starting to see some of these teams that are really good competitive-wise. They're getting a lot of good recruits. We're trying to recruit players from all over the country. So I just think you see a little more balance. It's not just always southern teams right now. The northern teams are pretty good. We're going to see that in the Atlantic 10 this year. Our conference bumped up a little bit. So lots of good competition and lots of good players from different parts of the country.
Sure. And how have things changed specifically at Butler? You guys have gotten some recent field renovations. How have certain things like that kind of helped the team, not only this year but just in recent years?
Well, it's one of my goals every year I've been at Butler. When the guys come back in the fall, if they see something new, some positive thing we've done, whether it's a new scoreboard or new dugouts. This year we put a lot of work into the field, the playing surface. Some of our parents have really stepped up big time in the last couple of years. Some of our donors, alumni, we raised probably $120,000 last year just to rebuild the dugouts, and a nice new backstop and brick walls, and a lot more fan-friendly, I think, to watch a Butler baseball game compared to the old days when I first got here.
Mm-hmm. And Lucas, what has it been like playing under Coach Farley for a couple of years now, and how would you kind of describe his leadership style and his coaching style on the field?
Oh, it's awesome. He gives us a lot of freedom. He understands that he takes us as adults, and he's like, okay, listen, this is what you got to do to prepare yourself. I'm not going to go behind your back and making sure you're trying to get you in trouble or anything like that. He just gives us the freedom, and he gives us a lot of trust, which I respect him a lot for that. Like, there's not too many coaches out there who just flat out just say, okay, I know what you have to do, go do it, and I'm not going to do anything until you get in trouble. So he really goes out there. He really prepares yourself for the mentality of the game as well. He's done a lot of that this year. Talks about breathing big and really relaxing at the plate and understanding what you have to do for every pitch, and it's really been a great experience.
Sure. Now, like most of Butler's athletic teams, the baseball team will be moving to the Atlantic 10 Conference. Your first A-10 matchup is against VCU on March 22nd. Coach, I'll start with you. How are you guys preparing for the Atlantic 10 Conference play, and how do you feel this conference is different from the Horizon League baseball-wise?
Well, the RPI, the NCAA measures kind of the strength of your league, same as basketball and football with the different metrics and things like that. So on paper, we've jumped up a little bit. The Horizon League was a good conference, a lot of good teams, Wright State, UIC, a lot of very strong baseball teams. But on paper, the Atlantic 10 is even better. VCU, I think, is one of the teams I would pick to win the conference this year. They were they're coming in from the Colonial Conference, and they've been a perennial NCAA type team. So that'll be a challenging weekend to get started right off the bat. They play in a beautiful minor league ballpark down there. So excited to see them. these early season games, teams like Appalachian State and Georgia State and Lipscomb, all very competitive teams. So I think our early season schedule is a lot like what we'll see in the A10, so I don't think there'll be a huge change there.
And Lucas, any other thoughts kind of on A10 play and preparing for that versus preparing for Horizon League play?
I think you just go every single game, and especially now in the early of the season, you go and take every game, and even if you lose, you have to take something positive from the game to prepare yourself for conference play. Yes, you would like to win every single game that you play against, but if you lose, you have to take something positive and know that the marbles really count when you start playing in the Atlantic 10 Conference.
Sure. Now, you're in the unique situation that you transferred from St. Louis a couple of years ago, so you actually already got to experience some Atlantic 10 Conference play. What can the team expect, and has your time there, do you think that will help the team at all? Do you think you'll be able to lend any pointers to the team?
It's pretty much baseball is pretty much the same international. It's just very. I think it's a little more competitive. I think the traveling, the rigors of travel is going to be there more. There's a lot more teams in the Northeast, as the Horizon League was mainly teams just in the Midwest. So again, it's just preparing yourself mentally and understanding the grind of the travel and the long season that's ahead of us. Just pretty much that.
And Coach, you talked about VCU being a tougher team in the conference. This question's for both of you. Are there any teams that you guys are really excited to play, or any places in the A10 that you're really excited to get to travel to this year?
Well, my only experience is the teams we played back in the old days when I first got here. It was called the Midwestern Collegiate Conference, and that was Notre Dame and Evansville. But Dayton and Xavier have been the two teams that we consistently played, even in non-conference play now. So when I went to my first Atlantic 10 coaches meeting up in Chicago several weeks ago, that's the only two guys in the room I knew, was the coach from Dayton and the coach from Xavier. So it was kind of a funny feeling to be there with all these new guys. So I'm excited, like the players, I think, to see some new venues. There are a couple of teams, like I said, North Carolina, Charlotte, VCU, Rhode Island are really powerful baseball teams, and looking forward to seeing some of those places. And I'm sure they're excited to get to Butler and see Indianapolis.
Sure. And Lucas, any places you're looking forward to traveling to for playing this year?
I don't know. Try to finish my A10 trip. I got some other cities to go visit, and just excited to play my old alma mater.
Sure. Now, you guys will be playing Appalachian State next for a 3-game series over the weekend. They were nationally ranked at times last season. So, Coach, how did they end up? How did the Mountaineers end up on your schedule this season?
Well, we just get calls from teams out east and out down south. They're looking for northern teams like Butler, teams from the Midwest or Northeast to come down. Those teams usually help pay for some hotel rooms for us, try to make the travel cheaper. Obviously, you just can't play teams from Illinois and Ohio and Indiana this time of year. The weather just doesn't give us a chance to do that. So we've got to go south or go east or go west. That's a team we haven't played before, and like I said, they were nationally ranked last year. They're coming off of getting beaten in the NCAA regional final by Oklahoma. So it'll be one of the best teams in our schedule, and excited to go to North Carolina to take them on.
Sure. And Lucas, really quick here, how do you prepare for a Mountaineers team that was really pretty tough last year?
We just go ahead and get the scouting report that the coaches give us, and pretty much go out there and just play the game and see what happens.
Sure. Last question for both of you, directly for Lucas. What is your batting entrance song for this year? I know it's a big thing for the softball team. Not sure how big it is for the baseball team, but do you have a certain batting entrance song that you have
no, I haven't
planned?
decided much. I'm from Miami, so I'll probably get a little Pitbull in there or something.
Coach Farley, if you were still playing, you have a song you choose to?
That'd probably be a Lawrence Welk. I'm so old seeing that. No, I like Lucas. He's got the 305 area code covered, and I like our guys. They got some good tunes, but I could do without some of the baseball tunes. I can just go out there and play and coach, and I'm old school right now.
Sure. All right, well, that's all the time we have. I want to thank Coach Farley and Lucas Calderon for joining me this afternoon. That's all the time we have. Up next will be Scott Schmelzer interviewing Jay Locklear, so stay tuned. For the Bulldog Blitz, I'm Colin Likas.
Welcome back to segment 2 of the Bulldog Blitz. I'm Scott Schmelzer, and today I'm joined by Jay Locklear, one of the key movers behind the Hinkle Fieldhouse renovation and the campaign to raise the funds to make the master plan happen. Jay is a relatively new face on campus. Welcome to the show, Jay. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Would you mind explaining sort of what you do? What is your position in regards to the Hinkle Fieldhouse campaign?
Sure. Well, I'm, as you said, somewhat new here at Butler, going on my second year. And I'm a major gift officer for athletics, housed in the University Advancement Department, but my primary duties are fundraising for athletics and our number one priority, the Hinkle campaign.
And when you say major gift officer, what what does your job entail when it comes to direct donations for the Hinkle project?
Yeah, I meet primarily with our alums, fans, stakeholders at Butler to convince them that the Hinkle campaign is a worthy cause, and to hopefully get them on board and support with a major gift. For us, that's usually a gift of $30,000 or more. So we've had plenty of folks step up to that level, and hopefully we'll have more here in the future.
So how did you come to Butler? How did you sort of get involved with this project, and what was that process like?
Yeah, I've been working in athletic development the last 7 years, previously at James Madison University and West Virginia University, and then like anything, saw that an opening was available here and a great opportunity to be part of the Butler family, and was familiar with Barry and of course the success in basketball, and knew of the Hinkle campaign. At its time was in its infancy, but I knew that it was coming down the road, and just a great opportunity, and was fortunate enough to be hired on, and fortunate enough to be part of my everyday work life now.
And so we all knew about when Bill Lynch got hired to be Director of Development for the athletic department because of his Indiana ties. What kind of relationship did you have with development and Bill Lynch specifically, and now that he has gone on to DePaul, what kind of duties have you had to pick up on his behalf?
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't really know Coach Lynch. Knew who he was, but didn't have a personal relationship with him until arriving on campus here. Was familiar with Barry, and that he had recruited me when I was a student athlete many years ago, but had worked in athletic development, had gotten some good experience at my previous two institutions, and wanted to come to a place like Butler that was a little smaller, and have the opportunity to work on a campaign such as Hinkle, with the historic significance and the opportunity to really make an impact on campus was really what drew me here.
Great. So let's get down to brass tacks. What are the goals that you guys are setting for your campaign? What kind of benchmarks have you met, or are you still trying to achieve?
Well, we've set a public goal of $16 million privately raised. Right now, we're currently just past the $13.3 million mark. We have a goal in mind to reach that $16 million mark by the end of the calendar year this year. We've had some great success both in the quiet phase, working with the major gift donors and major stakeholders, and now that we're in the public phase, are really starting to have some success. Especially with a mailer that we just had and a lot of the other initiatives we're doing out in the public.
So what is your guys' scheduled start date, and have you guys run into any roadblocks so far that might delay the start to this renovation?
Right now we're still targeted for a spring start date, hopefully sometime in April. As with any construction project, of course, you have a lot of permits to be had and red tape to go through. Hinkle's a little bit of a unique situation in that it's a historical building. It's on several historical registers. So while that's great and a great designation to have, it can present some challenges as far as getting the permits and construction plans and timelines and things of that nature, just because you are dealing with a little more regulation. But as of right now, everything seems to be moving towards an April start date of our first phase of construction.
Great. So I know that a lot of the scuttlebutt around with Butler fans, we have a pretty older fan base who've been around for a long time, and a lot of people were nervous about a renovation to sacrifice the tradition of Hinkle Fieldhouse. And I don't know if you were part of any of those discussions, but were there any reservations going into the renovation, or was it sort of a no-brainer? We've got to do this to improve our facilities.
Sure, I think anytime you have a facility, with the significance and charm and history that Hinkle has, anytime you hear the renovation, folks can certainly get nervous. I will say Barry and the leadership at the university have done a tremendous job of really getting the message through that although we are going to renovate, it's more of a preservation than a renovation, in that we're going to have some amenities that we need and that our fans and our student athletes deserve, but we're not going to change anything about the building as far as the history of the building and the charm of the building, significance of the building. It's more of a preservation than a renovation.
So what are some of the structural things that you guys that specifically you with major gifts are trying to accomplish. So what are like the major structural pieces of Hinkle that we're trying to get done?
Well, first and foremost, we wanted to do several things. Number one was we wanted to provide the resources and the facilities for our student athletes, things that they can be proud of, things that will help them compete and be successful in the classroom and on the court and in the field of competition. So that was a main goal for us, was to update and provide the resources and facilities for them. The second thing was we needed to provide minimal resources and facilities for our fans and our alums. If, as many know, when you go to a game at Hinkle, it's a great experience, but there are certainly challenges as far as traffic flow and seating and restrooms and things of that nature. So we wanted to really update those and be able to provide a great experience to our fans and alums. And then the third part is we needed to come up to code in a lot of those aspects as well, as far as disability seating and taking care of our fans with special needs. We really had to come up to code on that end. So with those three things in mind, you'll see a lot of changes and a lot of good things coming into Hinkle.
So are you allowed to sort of convey what are some of the things that the fans should be looking forward to, next basketball season when they get to Hinkle?
Sure. The things that we have planned right now are really focusing on the student athlete experience first. So in the first phase, beginning this spring, we have the goal of renovating our men's and women's basketball locker rooms. So everything on that, western side of the building, getting those facilities up to snuff. And then what now is the unused pool area, we'll begin construction in there and turning that area into 18,000 square feet of usable space, a 3-story building with a new weight room, strength and conditioning facility, a new academic success center, and new athletic training facility. Then on the east side of the building, some things for the fan experience. The Wildman Room and all the areas on the east side of the building are slated to be part of the first phase. Renovations of those areas and expansion of those areas. So in the first phase, a little bit of both, mostly things focusing on the student athlete, but some things for the fans as well.
Well, definitely a lot to be excited for. I know that a lot of people, we know that donations are coming in, and we know that the campaign is pretty rigorous and it's pretty nonstop. What kind of anonymity do donors ask for? Is there any type of that? Because I know when Gordon Hayward made his donation to get his video room or whatever you guys call it, nobody ever talked about how much it was. So I just wonder how much your donors are, wanting to be a part of this, wanting to get their names on rooms, things like that, or is it a pretty much an anonymous situation?
I think it varies from donor to donor. Some donors certainly, the level of commitment they make deserves some recognition, and whether it be in honor of someone or in recognition of a family or in memory of someone, we certainly have folks that do that. But on the flip side, we have folks that really enjoy the supporting the school and the university and the athletic department and doing it anonymously and having their name on something at the top of their list. So we have a mix of both. I think in the end, as long as they're supporting Butler and doing good for us, we're certainly giving them the recognition they're due. But if they want to remain anonymous, we'll certainly honor those wishes as well.
And so we know the start date is scheduled for spring, this upcoming spring. When can we expect it to be entirely complete?
Well, the first phase is scheduled for this spring, and another unique circumstance to the building is it's a open, active building. It's used every day by not only our student athletes, faculty, and staff, but our students with PE classes, intramurals, commencements, countless events. So with that, we want to keep the building open. We don't want to shut the building down and just start construction. So that presents some challenges as far as the timeline of construction and things we want to do. Our goal is, if we can get things started on time this spring, all those things I mentioned in the first phase will hopefully be done come fall of next year in time for the volleyball and basketball seasons to kick off. And then we'll actually start with phase 2 in the spring of next year, pretty identical to what we've done with another phase of construction, hopefully wrapping up the fall of the following year as well.
Great. And so final question, as a whole, when this entire thing is complete and we see all the results, what does the athletic department hope to get out of this renovation? What does Butler University hope to get out of this renovation?
Well, I think anyone that's been into Hinkle certainly enjoys coming to a game there or their experience there. I think this will further enhance it. First and foremost, it provides the resources for our student athletes to be competitive and be successful. It provides the resources for our coaches to be able to recruit successfully and bring in the best and the brightest to their teams. And then on the fan and alum side, I think it further enhances a building that fans and alums can be proud of and enjoy showing off and look great on TV and look good anytime Hinkle Fieldhouse is in the media.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Jay. You really shed a lot of light on the situation for those who are wondering. But coming up in our final segment of today's Blitz, Colin Likas and I will have stories about the Pink Game at Hinkle, a busy stretch of home matches for Butler women's tennis team, and a new recruit for Butler women's soccer team who is expected to do great things for next year's squad. Don't go away, Bulldogs fans.
Basketball, tennis, and soccer highlight this segment of the Bulldog Blitz. I'm Colin Likas.
And I'm Scott Schmelzer. The Butler women's basketball team is doing its part to battle breast cancer. While the team colors are blue and white, the color pink was the dominant color at Hinkle during a recent game. The Butler women's basketball team didn't do a bad load of laundry. They were wearing pink from head to toe in the fight against breast cancer. The Bulldogs participated in their annual pink game last Sunday at Hinkle Fieldhouse. With head coach Beth Kuchar as a breast cancer survivor, it's about much more than the game.
We just know that the whole meaning to it is way bigger than just ourselves. We just come out there trying our best, fighting as hard as we can, because we know there's more important things than just a basketball game.
Coach Kuchar was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2009, and it has been in remission since 2010. She has been a leader in Indianapolis in the fight against cancer, with events like the annual Pink Game. Kuchar has felt the effects of cancer personally and knows how much it means to everyone involved.
Everybody's been affected by cancer in some way or another, and and when you have a chance to go out there in pink and play hard like that, I think it's just a blessing that we can do that.
These inspired dogs beat St. Bonaventure 64-46, but not without needing a strong second half to pull away. Junior Darius McClung sees their play in the second half in context and the meaning behind Sunday's game.
These people are fighting so hard, it tells me that we should be fighting hard like that when we're playing. And so the competitive level, I feel, should be a lot higher. And I think today in the second half, I think we really did that.
The Lady Bulldogs stand at 6-4 in conference and 15-10 overall. They are set to face conference foes St. Louis and Richmond this week. For the Bulldog Blitz, I'm Scott Schmelzer.
Fundraising for the campaign for Hinkle Fieldhouse is in full swing. Butler is through the first phase of Hinkle renovations after completing the outside restoration. Further work is on hold until the spring, when indoor work can begin. But money is still needed to complete the project. The ultimate goal is to raise $16 million, and Associate Athletic Director Mike Freeman says they are just a couple $1 million short. The athletics department is using mailing lists, piggy banks, and a text messaging campaign to raise funds. Fundraising will continue through December of 2013.
The money raised in this campaign is having a noticeable effect on the historic Hinkle Fieldhouse, both inside and out. The interior and exterior of Hinkle are getting improvements. The exterior renovations begin in May. Thousands of window panes and bricks have been replaced and tuck pointed. The interior renovations are set to begin in April. The weight room will expand and the sports medical center will be upgraded. The locker rooms on the main level of Hinkle will be renovated. A brand new academic center will be available to athletes. The swimming pool in Hinkle, which is closed to the public and used for storage, will be restored for swim use. Butler fans will feel the effects of the improvements too. The Wildman Hospitality Suite will be remodeled and refurnished. A new scoreboard with instant replay will also be installed. Renovations are scheduled to be completed in 2014. The
Butler women's tennis team is coming off an unusual part of its schedule. The The squad has played 4 home matches in 5 days. Let's take a look at how they did. The collegiate tennis season is rolling right along at Butler University. Under first-year head coach Teo Bailey, the women's squad played host to 4 schools last week in the Butler bubble.
Every match they're getting a little bit better. These matches are tough. We're playing some really good teams, but every match I see improvement.
Xavier visited Indianapolis Wednesday to open Butler's slate of home matches. The Bulldogs are struggling to earn points in doubles action. That trend continued with a sweep at the hands of the Musketeers. Junior Caroline Hedrick says one of the team's prominent goals is to capture more doubles victories.
To definitely get the doubles point. We have not done that since our first match of the spring season.
In singles, only freshman Constantina Adami was victorious, taking a 3-set win in the number 4 spot. After dropping a 7-0 decision against Middle Tennessee State Friday, the Bulldogs hosted in-state foe Evansville. Before the match, Bailey made her vision for the team clear.
For the rest of the season, I really want us to just come out with more wins.
Butler did not disappoint and came out on top, 4-3. Hedrick, senior Brittany Farmer, and juniors Stephanie McLaughlin and Laura Shull all won their singles matches. Shull says Bailey has given the women new ideas to employ during matches.
Definitely stepping into your shots and extending your arm and just doing a lot more power play instead of don't miss kind of play.
Butler closed the weekend with a loss to Northern Illinois Sunday. The team will get a chance at redemption this Sunday against Abilene Christian. Shull says staying on campus for that opportunity suits the team just fine.
I love the bubble. It's really nice, just walk over 10 minutes before the match.
For the Bulldog Blitz, I'm Colin Light.
The Butler women's soccer team will add a new player to the field. Sarina Kashimoto of Japan was a captain on Japan's U-17 Japanese national team. Assistant women's soccer coach Rick Huffman says Kashimoto will bring a different kind of experience to the team.
She brings a tremendous level of experience playing on the international level to the team, so we're real excited. She's gonna make us a lot better. I think that it's gonna be a really big learning experience for Sarina too. She's gonna learn from these kids. The American style of play is a lot more physical. In Japan, it's a very technical game, and the technique is emphasized at every level, and then you come to the United States and it's just a much more physical game. So, little things like getting her in the weight room, just being able to play a physical style game, but she's good enough that she will adjust to it.
That's it for this week's Bulldog Blitz. I'm Colin Likas.
And I'm Scott Schmelzer. Until next time, Bulldogs.